Quantum K. Hey Reflections. So much has happened and so much synchronicity since I did that talk with Aaron Gok, and I'm just so grateful for Aaron to just give me all of that renewed energy and confidence and understanding and seeing things from the bigger picture, because sometimes we all need reminding, that's why we have friends. This is a collective experience, and I have to keep on reminding myself of that no matter how individual I feel, because this path can be a lonely one, and I've gone through so much change. And even though I haven't really been putting up videos, what I've been doing is, so what happens is I put up a video, and then as soon as I go through that process of, looking into the camera, talking, or even if, you don't have a camera, say if you're doing it on an audio recording or whatever, it's really essentially for myself, just going through my problems, recognizing the root patterns, and the behaviors, and the just correlating and just recognizing really the patterns between everything, the self, the mother, the fractal effect within the family, the generational patterns, seeing that and correcting, that's really been helping me throughout this way. And being real, just being real with myself, and first off, using that energy of I want to connect. So the reason why I've been having other psychonauts and free thinkers on my channel is because doing this, you can lose track and fall into personality. You understand? And that's why I've been wanting to get other perspectives. That's why I wanted to get Aaron on here and to have a conversation with him, because he can pull, and we all need that help, we all need that, because collectively we are co-creating this new earth. And it sometimes does feel like you're just beating on this path and doing it alone. So it's very important to connect and to reach out and to love, to be there for one another. Yes, I am always here. And that was just the energy that Aaron had given me, like that just very brotherly figure, that steward, into stepping into a higher state of consciousness, or a more expansive state, you know what I mean? Because it's different levels of understanding, and when operating from the personality, from the ego or the mask, it is very hard to have those expanded states of awareness. So that's why I really appreciate when you guys tell me to stay humble, because that is the only space of accessing higher states of awareness and consciousness, and information. So yeah, I do want to just thank all of you guys for being there and being so supportive, because when you do wake up, when you do come to these other levels of understanding, you're like, wow, I'm acting like an asshole or like that's embarrassing, but I keep all of that stuff up there to show people the evolution of my consciousness, and that I'm still not, I'm not going to be the same person tomorrow, and that's so amazing and so humbling at the same time. And that's why I wanted to have Aaron's energy there, because it was just reminding me to be humble, reminding me to set aside the personality, reminding me to come from a understanding of the bigger picture, because at times it is hard, especially when doing this work and living in your authenticity, you know, and your divine authenticity. While you're doing, you know, the groundwork, you can lose sight of the bigger picture. So yeah, that was so humbling and so amazing. And I really took a lot of that information and just ran with it. And again, thank you, Erin, so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being such an amazing individual. And that, you know, this, and we were talking about this is true devotion to each other, devotion in how much you appreciate, you know, how much you appreciate the love, the understanding, the information, you know, the energy of the other. And it's that, to me, is true devotion to the reflections, you know, devotion to the whole collective experience. And that really did break down a lot of this stuff within my head. I have been learning so much more information and really challenging my belief systems and challenging what makes Quantum Kitty. And I asked my guides what was the next step, and it was learning information, a lot of information. So I've been pretty much studying from the time I wake up until my partner comes home. Obviously, I try to put everything down, you know, but for a good 10-12 hours, I am studying so much information. Yeah, so that's been the next step. It's understanding how much knowledge there is to tackle, because it is multifaceted, multidimensional, just like this whole entire experience is. So it's understanding like astrotheology, occult, symbolism, different forms of magic, you know, light occult. Actually, there was so much synchronicity that basically put me on, you know, a completely different path. And with just, you know, a few Google searches, I got thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of information. So basically, I mean, we're not touching on anything that's new, but it's just, I asked a question, I got an answer. So yeah, I realized why there has been so much change within my life. You know, when awakening occurs, it occurs when we are living in the root chakra and in base consciousness, and we awaken because that is free will. I chose, you know, that is that's free will. I chose to awaken in the middle of my programming, in the middle of mind control, in the middle of all of that stuff, and that was quite terrifying for me. So this year it was pretty much letting go of materialism, letting go of personality, letting go of the things that define me, and creating from anew and creating fresh. And like, this is why I say that cleansing, purification, that is essential and necessary, because a lot of the things within my life, you know, and also it all comes from this like deeper understanding of why we are doing things, you know. So the things that were motivating me before was money, of course, and that is also, you know, a form of worship and religion. And I really had to let go of that. When you guys met me, when I first started Quantum Kitty, and I'm going to get into my story because this is also part of the purging process, you know, and not being ashamed of you know, my backstory, and understanding that this had sparked my awakening, you know what I mean? And why I believe we need to balance the divine feminine, not just only the divine feminine, but the divine masculine as well. And that's when I realized this takes both masculine and feminine energy to experience the, you know, in a very expansive state, in a very emotional state, and then create, which is very technical, and produce content. So yeah, that is something that I've been learning to balance more and having an understanding of. If you guys follow my Snapchat, you see that there is a lot of information that I am also presenting, and I feel like it's almost like a collective research, Snapchat, because like we're all researching and we're pretty much researching the same stuff at the same time and sharing information, stuff like that. So if you guys want to, get involved with that, yeah, the more the merrier. But yeah, it is a collective, God, talk about shift, man. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for the shift. Because it was a huge shift in consciousness and perspective, really, because my perspective was very different, and now my perspective is something completely different. So we're going to go back to all the changes that I've been experiencing, and I feel, a lot of people might want to know this, like what happened between, your apartment and now. What happened was I was in a relationship for 3 years, which wasn't really going anywhere. It was a relationship based on fear, on control, on sex. And basically I was living, I was with someone that had gotten me an apartment and had, basically controlled, my life, not controlled, but like it was strictly for, it was strictly a money thing, like at the end, did I, at the beginning, did I love him? Absolutely not. Was I selling myself short? Absolutely. Was I living in my divine truth? Absolutely not. But it took that interaction with him to realize, this is probably not what I am looking for. It was a relationship based on money and ego, and that's why I say it's coming out and stepping out of that, and that's why I needed to let go of all of this stuff. But the way I let go of all of this stuff was super dramatic. So, if you are, living in that existence, which is not your truth, which is slavery, which is control, because he was, a wealthy guy, and he built that apartment for me, and that's cool, and for a while, like I just didn't care about him, I just didn't love him, I drew him, I distanced myself a lot, which put this weirdness within the relationship, and I'm like, oh my god, this is not a regular relationship, because I never see him. And then I tried to get close, and by that time the damage was already done, so I went to India, and I tried to find myself, and when I went to India, all I saw was charlatans. And then I came back to the US, and then I had this experience with DMT, and it really broke that programming. It really made me see what reality was for a split second. And after I saw that, I knew everything had to change, and that's free will. I chose in that moment in time. I chose within that, psychedelic experience. I chose, and that's free will, love and fear. What drives you, what motivates you. Is it fear? Lack of money, lack of food? Because that is motivation. That's what drove me at that point to put myself in that position. Was I exercising, everything within truth and my divine truth and doing what made me feel good? Absolutely not. You know, and that's what I was getting out of. So yeah, a lot of that was material. A lot of that was programming. I was programmed by my culture and by nature and the people around me that told me, Samina, you are beautiful. You are far more beautiful than, you know, the others around you. So your value goes up, you know? Like that's something I realized within culture. And that is culture anywhere. You know, you could take down, you know, just forget about East or West right now, but the main idea is if you are a woman and you are beautiful, then you should sell yourself at a higher, you know, for the highest bidder, or your value is dictated by your beauty, you know, and that's very base, that's very material, that's very egoic. And I recognize that, you know, I recognized my motivation, and I recognized that that was not love. So everything again was highly synchronistic, and I met my partner at a rave, and yeah, so it was really synchronistic. And when I first met him, he reminded me of someone, my best friend actually, or one of my best friends when I was in middle school. And I told him immediately. He goes, what? And yeah, that's how it started. First conversation was about psychedelics, consciousness, DMT, and the rest was history. And you know, I kind of knew that my lease was, you know, not renewed at the time. And you know, oh, I just want to say, when I got back from India, we were pretty much done. Me and the person that was supporting me and my boyfriend at the time of 3 years, we had pretty much, we were over. Like, we realized this was not going to be salvaged. We were in two different places in life. I begged him to do psychedelics. I begged him to be open. I begged him to expand his mind. He didn't want to, so I just had to move on. And that's when I met my partner. And yeah, so I just want to explain, because everything seemed to change so much, and my content seemed to change so much, and I began to change so much for a reason, you know, and that is my personal journey. And I figured I might as well just get it out there, because it makes me, and that's when my awakening happened, at the roots, you know, and with the Kundalini energy, with the sexual energy, you know, I was using my sexual energy to access higher states of consciousness, you know, and that's what I mean by, like, not judging people, you know, not judging where they come from, you know, not judging them, because you realize that in order to find yourself, you're going to have to deal with shit, you know, that's alchemy, you know, and that's why I wanted to put this out there, so I can tell, you know, even Aaron's story, you know, that's why I love his work so much. It's so honest, it's so real, it's so authentic, it's so shameless, you know, because when you are living in your divine truth, you are shameless, because the past, that was what made you. That's what opened your eyes, you know, so you are no longer ashamed of that. And it's something that I for a long time, I was judging myself so hard. And it's just a release of that judgment of the self, because I realized in order to even live in my divine truth, I had to go through the darkness. I had to find myself. I had to be there to understand that that was not my calling, you know, and that was so profound. So in March, what happened was my lease was up. I went to Europe. I didn't know everything was going to happen when it happened, because of the mailing system. A lot of the mail would go to him and not here. And when I was home, when I was at the apartment, he wasn't there, and when I wasn't there, it was just like miscommunication. And so when I went to Germany, pretty much I was locked out of my apartment because they seized it, obviously. All my stuff was in there. My cat was in there. That's why I didn't want to talk about it at that time, because it hurt so much and I had to process so much. And yeah, so got back from Germany and the UK and Oslo, Norway, and then came to my apartment. It's locked out, you know, sheriff's warrant or message or whatever it is, and all my stuff was in there, and I had some pretty cool stuff, and I went to court, and they specifically went in and threw out all my stuff and possibly killed my cat because they had a beef with my partner at the time, the one that I broke up with, because he was a real estate developer, and in that business it's very disgusting and very ego-based and very nasty, and they want to hurt each other and they want to hurt people because that's just how they are. Cut off. So yeah, basically all my stuff was on the street, all my Terence McKenna books, all of my mystical books, everything, all of my paintings, all of my, you know, like, it doesn't really belong to me, you know, it's all transient. Yeah, so that destruction process, that ego death was intense, you know. The only thing that I could save was my suitcase that I brought with my clothes, and they graciously saved some of my camera equipment. So yeah, that's what I went through. It was really traumatic, but I knew I chose love. You know, I knew I chose love. I knew I chose truth. And I know that my life would be okay. You know, like, my life would be okay. Yeah, the road's going to be a little rocky and bumpy, but that's what makes you. You know, that's what made this relationship so much stronger. That's what made my faith within myself so much stronger. And yeah, so I've been going through a lot emotionally and spiritually. So I feel that's why I couldn't do so much research, you know, before. I was figuring out my life, and I was getting out of a really bad situation, guys. You know, because I find a lot of women are stuck in that, you know, and that's why I was really taking care of that sexual trauma, because unless you take care of that root problem of why you are in that situation, you know, what programming led you there, what the people in your life, you know, what your role models, you know, your TV, your culture, everything, you know, it's everything. It's not just you. Don't blame yourself, you know, that you're here and I'm a bad person and I should judge. No, because the soul is always pure. The soul can never be tainted. Your body can be tainted, yes, but that is your human self. The soul will never be tainted, and no one can take that from you. You can always take it back. You know, you can always take it back, and that's what's happening here, guys. You know, we are being traumatized, and we are told that we are unclean, you know, that we are unpure, that we need to be shameful, and that is very far from the truth. There is no shame in my story. You know, there is no shame in it, because I got so much from it. I'm here. You know, I'm doing these videos. You know, if I wasn't in a secluded place, if I wasn't so, because, you know, that lifestyle is also very secluded. You know, you're very much alone. You know, when you have that mind state of competition, a duality, you know, of being alone, you know, I recognize that is a state of consciousness, that is a perspective I also had to drop, and thankfully, with the help of my friends, with the help of my guides, and with the help of my reflections, I've made that leap you know, and I'm very, very thankful for that. Yeah, so this is basically my call to action for everyone to just be more authentic with themselves, be more real, you know, accept your flaws for what they are, accept your circumstances for what they are, and really learn from them. Never judge yourself, you know, when it comes to being broken, when it comes to being unpure, when it comes to feeling bad about yourself, you know, because that's not going to get us anywhere, you know, and that's why I'm so grateful that I have this new perspective, and I have so much work to do now. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you, because it's really important for us to just love and support and understand, you know, and if you guys are wanting to reach out to me, please, by all means, absolutely, I don't mind, you know. Just know that I go to sleep early, so usually I'm in bed by like 11 or 12. I go to sleep because I do wake up early. But yeah, it's all about the collectiveness and the connectedness. So my last download, after having that talk with Erin, after connecting with a friend that inspired me to connect with my higher self and my guides, after connecting with another friend, my last download and observation and message was that we are co-creating collectively the new earth. So that's basically my call to action. Sorry, I got distracted. But yeah, that's my call to action for everyone to, number one, challenge the self. You know, number two, recognize the higher states of consciousness and the lower levels of consciousness. Recognize, integrate, understand the shadow, understand why we have those lower levels of nature, and then correct our behavior, you know, because we always have the choice. That's free will. We can act, we can react, you know, and we can come, or we could come from a place of love and understanding. So that's the second. And the third is to create, you know, some change, do something, live in your authenticity, live in your truth. If you are, you know, good at talking, honestly, that's why I love Erin. Some people say they love my voice, but I love his voice, you know, like, I always think I have to, I have a hard time finding words. So, yeah, be in your divine truth. So do what you're best at, whether that's, you know, science, whether that's occultism, whether it's being an intuitive empath, you know, whatever your gift is, you know, come join us and co-create, and, you know, a new earth, and display your gifts and be proud of your gifts, because we're doing this together, and we all have to work now to create new content for our people, you know, because it's just not out there, or personality has intercepted, or money, really, you know, and this has to come from a place of a higher state, you know. So yeah, anyway, reflections, I'll cut it at that. Yeah, there's just been a lot of learning and just a lot of love, and there's going to be a lot more. God, I have so much studying to do. Now I know what that dream is and that vision was. Like, I dream of things, I have visions, and then they happen. So I realized, like, the mathematics of the universe was the keys to the universe, which is a book written by, I believe it was Henrietta Curtis, I believe, and it's a Christian mysticism, and it talks about all of the numbers in tarot. My friend gave this to me a year ago. I should have studied it a year ago, but again, my life is so chaotic, and now I can, you know, now I have the time. Now I'm alone a lot, so I could do that. So yeah, that's what I mean by just following the synchronicities, asking your guides for help, asking your angels for help, and then really finding what you're supposed to be doing. So I just found so much information that I had to process and to understand it. It's going to take, I don't know how many months, if not years, to go through, but yeah, that's what this process is. Constant evolution, constant learning, not just about that, but sciences and psychology, and just understanding and a deeper awareness of the whole, of everything, of the bigger picture. Anyway, reflections. I hope you're having an awesome, awesome, awesome day.
Hey Reflections, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and check out my other videos.